All right, so we're looking at the Las Vegas Truck Series race here. Real quick, it's just audio only because, you know, it's just me talking here, not really showing anything. So you can listen to this in another tab. You can listen to this on a walk in the gym, whatever the case may be. We're looking at the Truck Series real quick. There's three things I want to focus on specifically entering this week is that I want drivers that are going to be safe. I want drivers that are going to have short run speed. I'm not necessarily concerned about how good your car is. Honestly, if you can be good on restarts, if you can make it 10 laps, that's really all I'm looking for. I'm looking for drivers, yet again, that are going to be safe, specifically drivers that are going to avoid wrecks, that are going to avoid racing stupid, because at least last year, and I think last year is a good example to look at, last year was just short run speeds. Last year was just purely avoiding the carnage, and it's not necessarily a huge wreck fest because we didn't have, you know, tons and tons of DNFs, you know, across the board, but in both races, we had a lot of caution laps. You know, in the first race in March, coming off of the race at Daytona, so we had the qualifying formula that gave us a chalk Kyle Busch starting that started 29th. We had a chalk Austin Hill that started 31st. We had a chalk Zane Smith that started 32nd. A chalk Parker Kligerman that started 40th. And so we don't necessarily have those chalk plays, thank the Lord, this year. Unless people just completely, you know, fumble in qualifying. But the big takeaway is we had 9 cautions for 48 laps. Now, obviously, 2 of those are the stages, but it still breaks the race up. When we look at the March race and where the cautions came out, you had a caution right off the bat due to no qualifying. We can kind of take that one away. It was on lap 3. We then had the end of stage 1 at lap 32, no caution. Then we went to, or no caution that stage outside of the lap 3 spin. We had the end of stage number 2 at lap 62, and we had no cautions in stage 2. But then you get to the point of the race to where you're going to have guys actually trying to make moves. You have guys trying to get ahead of stuff. And so on lap 70, coming out of the restart on lap 68, we have a 3-car incident in turn 1. And yet again, we're going to be talking about turn 1 because I think it is going to be incredibly important to talk about when we get to the Cup Series, probably in a later video. So we have that accident happen. We come out of that restart. We have another yellow right off the bat on lap 80. And that was the 18 getting spun in turn 2. You know, we go into another restart, and on lap 90, we have the 51 spin in turn 2, which is indeed Kyle Busch. You know, as I said, he started from the back to drive through the field because he did spin out there. And you got to remember, this was a Kyle Busch spin that was kind of on purpose. He brought this out because he kind of needed it. Didn't blow the tires, or at least didn't destroy the vehicle with the flat tires. But Kyle Busch had to drive through the field yet again, to finish second. And that's really why we didn't see Kyle Busch lead more laps in this race, because he had to go to the rear basically 2 times. Had to drive up through the field because he started 29th, you know, spun out, had to drive through the field again. So after we get through his wreck there, we have another big wreck on lap 98 coming out of a restart in turn 1. We have the 17, 22, 27, 34, 30, 32, and 40 car incident in turn 1. Okay, we come out of that restart. Directly following that restart, we have another incident on the front straightaway. We have, this was Tyler Hill in the 56 and Corey Roper, I believe, on the front straightaway coming out of that. And so by the time we get to the end of the race, we're on lap 124. The race is only 134 laps. We get 124, we have another restart, and we have another incident on the back straightaway involving a lot of the faster cars. You know, 23, we had the Jordan Anderson car involved, we had the 26, we had Parker Kligerman involved as well. And Parker Kligerman actually comes back and still finishes 8th here on a restart. When we're looking at guys who remained on the lead lap, we had 23 cars finish on the lead lap. We had 2 cars finish, we had 1 car finish 1 lap down, 2 cars finish 2 laps down, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 cars finish 4 laps down. So really, we're looking, and we do have to remember that this race did have 40 cars, but we're running 36 here. Not too crazy. I wouldn't be shocked if we end up having at least 25 cars left on the lead lap. That just means if you're competent on the short runs and you're not completely slow, you're going to have a chance to gain positions late in this race. When we review the race from 2021, the fall race, this was the race that was just purely insane, involving a ton of the playoff drivers just doing absolutely stupid things. You know, Tyler Hill returns again. He ends up bringing that 56 car back 17th because we do have wrecks. We have Danny Bone finish 18th. We have Spencer Boyd in the 20 car finished 19th. CJ McLaughlin in the 33 finished 20th. Dylan Lupton in the 34 finished 31st or 21st. So right then and there, and actually, let me look back at the spring race and let's see what bad cars finished up front. Spencer Boyd started 33rd, finished 22nd in the 20 car. Dawson Cram started 23rd, finished 21st. We had any bad? We had Danny Bone, up and over Danny Bone, start 26th, finish 17th. That's something that's a play that I'm perfectly fine with, finding somebody who's in the 6K range, who's going to survive, who's going to be slow enough to avoid the big one, or at least the big wrecks in turn one, and just gain a few positions. We have, let's see, Brett Moffat was in this race. That's really the only big major moves for the bad plays. We had BJ McLeod go from 39th to 26th. Not sure we're going to have that big of a jump. Even Jennifer Jo Cobb started 31st, finished 29th. You'd want to see her run better, just the fact that she went down a lap, or quite a few laps in that first race. Anyway, so the fall race, again, going back, mainly just looking at, quote-unquote bad plays that are still going forward, that are still seeing, things happen. In this fall race, Jennifer Jo Cobb starts 32nd, finishes 29th, and she ends up finishing 5 laps off the pace and still gains 5 positions. We have Keith McGee, who was parked for being too slow, who could not maintain race speed, started 37th, still finished 32nd. Very, very interesting. I didn't review the wrecks that happened in this race. So this is the one where we had, that huge wreck in turn 2. We have Sheldon Curry trying to avoid the instant a car just comes right down into him. But we end up having Chris Hackert get damage on lap 6, and then on lap 70 we have the big one involving Creed, Smith, Ankrum, John Hernimacek, Haley Deegan, Jack Wood. I think Zane Smith even got damage from that race as well, from that wreck as well. I think Ahosevar did too, because he started 5th and ended up finishing 22nd, 1 lap down. I'm assuming that he had ran into issues as well. When we break down the wrecks in this race, and this is why I'm focusing on, quickly reviewing the last Las Vegas race, because I truly believe that these Las Vegas races, while I think the term wreckfest is everybody expects huge big ones and stuff like this, but this is the race where I fully believe we're going to have, 10 to 8 lap runs in stage 3. I don't see us getting really any long run runs in this Las Vegas race, which is unfortunate. I love races that go green. Those are easier to project. Those are the ones where research and paying attention to how drivers are going to do pays off versus, just restart after restart after restart, depending on what lane you're in, depending on how good your car is on restarts. That's when you can throw in, a bigger player pool, because there's more opportunities for quote-unquote bad plays or bad drivers to perform. Yet again, in both these races, we had a crash within the first 10 laps. I don't think we're going to see that this one with practice, but we do have a caution on lap 6 when Chris Hackert spins. Then we go to the end of stage 1, and there was no more incidents between that. So that green flag run was from 9 to 31st. And this is where I do believe that you're going to get, obviously Kyle Busch is most likely going to start up front in this race. I think Kyle Busch guaranteed has the first 2 stages led. That's what I would project Kyle Busch right now, leading the first 2 stages and then losing fast laps in stage 3 because of the lack of green flag laps and everything. So coming out of that, we have debris pretty much right off the restart for in stage 1, and then the 4 car oh yeah, that's right, I forgot. John Nemechek had an issue. He was not involved in the big wreck. He had an issue maintaining speed. His car died. His car stopped on track right off that restart. So anyway, we have restart on lap 85. We go 30 laps, which is the longest run in this race, which should set the precedent of 30 laps being the longest run between these 2 Las Vegas races last year. Correct? Yes, I am correct there. We have a 2-car incident in turn 3 on lap 115, and that basically just makes a restart after restart after restart. We have an 8-lap run following that, then we have a 3-lap run, and the race actually ends under yellow. I forgot about that as well. So looking at this real quick, who are the guys that I think are going to be safe. And this is yet again where I don't necessarily want to pay attention to track history. I just want to pay attention to really how smart these drivers are going to be. I want to come back. Everybody, if you watched any of my stuff last week, the amount of Timmy Hill I had for Xfinity was huge. And seeing him lose that ride was very disappointing. Very sad. Big sad for Timmy Hill losing his ride at Auto Club. But here we are yet again, Timmy Hill running. I cannot stress this enough, DraftKings. You need to price Timmy Hill up to at least $7,500 right now. I don't understand why he's still at $5K. I said it at Daytona, and I've said it multiple times, even when I'm talking about Xfinity with Timmy Hill. Timmy Hill is a guy who is not going to put the car in dangerous situations. Timmy Hill is a guy who is going to take advantage of restarts, certainly late restarts, but races where guys have bad races. When I think of races that scream Timmy Hill performing well, despite where he qualifies, is going to be races to where we have a lot of wrecks. Not even a lot of DNFs necessarily, but just a lot of restarts. A lot of guys running into issues. Timmy Hill at $5K, running his own truck, running full-time this year. I cannot stress that enough either. Like, Timmy Hill declared points for the Truck Series. He is running here to compete for, a good point standing at the end of the race. I want to say championship, if people are going to freak out if I start throwing Timmy Hill involved in championships, but he is not going to destroy this car. And these cars are fast. We've seen Tyler Hill run well in these cars last year. Anytime Timmy Hill hopped in these cars last year, he ran well. In a race where I anticipate a lot of guys running into issues, a lot of wrecks entering turn one, a lot of spin outs, a lot of constant, crashes, or at least yellows coming out. I don't see Timmy Hill going a lap down in stage 1 and 2. Okay, that locks him into at least running in the 20s, mid-20s. Not going to be lapped there. That's fine. If he's lapped, he'll probably be one of the faster cars that are lapped down. But either way, I don't see that happening. Even if he runs into getting lapped, we're going to have restarts. We're going to have lucky dogs. I don't see Timmy Hill running into issue. When you have restart after restart, Timmy Hill's going to be methodical. He's going to work his way through the field under all these yellows or under all these restarts and stuff. I don't see him getting involved in a wreck. $5,000 for Timmy Hill is just far too cheap. And just like going into last week at Auto Club, anticipating him to have a fast car, anticipating him to possibly even qualify well and scare some people off, Timmy Hill is going to be in most lineups for me. That's just how I trust it. Or that's just how I look at it. And so the guys that he's playing, the guys that have a real chance of arguing or at least competing with Timmy Hill in terms of value would be Spencer Boyd. We've seen Boyd, I just went over the way Boyd has been finishing in these Las Vegas races, and it's not necessarily him being good on speed. Spencer Boyd in the spring race starts 33rd, finishes 22nd, doesn't have the speed to really compete. He's just there because guys are having issues. Stanton lead lap, to his credit. Did Boyd run the second race? Because I get him in Davis. Yeah, Spencer Boyd in the fall race starts 31st, finishes 19th. Finishes 19th a lap down. He does not have speed. And so the only guy that I really see him competing with, Timmy Hill, in terms of DraftKings points right now, is the amount of place differential that Spencer Boyd might offer. It might be a really close battle between Timmy Hill just running his race, finishing well, and Boyd getting there on place differential. So that would be the main battle I would focus in on. You could argue with Lawless Allen, even Blade Perkins, Thad Moffat to an extent. But in terms of low value range, it's Spencer Boyd, Timmy Hill, just head-to-head on who performs better. That is my only concern with Timmy Hill, is that he might get outscored by Spencer Boyd if Boyd starts far enough back and there's enough carnage for his Boyd to get inside a top 20 finish. When we start moving up, and then we're going to kind of talk salary, it's just easier when I get salaries out to just have another element to talk about versus talking to them about pre-salaries for at least the Truck Series, because I think salaries are probably the most important for Truck Series, especially when Kyle Busch is on the entry list. I want to see what he's at, and Kyle Busch is just far too cheap. He should have been higher. $15,000 is just too cheap for Kyle Busch. So yet again, when we're playing a $15,000 Kyle Busch, you're not necessarily going to have a lot of 9K guys in that lineup. Timmy Hill's going to be probably a staple in most of my lines. Going up, Thad Moffat. Was he involved in a wreck at Daytona? I do not remember. I know he finished 18th. The reason I bring that up is Thad Moffat is a kid that I just want to see experience with. This is going to be a challenging racetrack for Thad. He's going to have some practice, to his credit. But I am concerned about Thad Moffat. Not going to go to Chris Wright. And when I say not going to go, yet again, this is a situation to where Chris Wright right now seems like an ugly play to me. Could easily work out. I'd much rather play Austin Wayne Self. Even Brennan Poole. Brennan Poole is back in the series. Thank God for him. Thank God for Brennan Poole. And he is driving, if I can find him. He's in number 46. Matt Jaskell. Wait a minute. Give me a moment here. Oh, yes, I was trying to figure out, because I saw the lift kits for less, number 46 car that Poole is in. I saw the number 47 auto parts for less, which, man, anytime you're using those types of sponsors, those are, it's like when you go to a grocery store and you buy the great value version of something. It usually doesn't mean it's a good value. Anyway, this is the team that poor Johnny Sauter was just woefully off pace at Daytona. If people are going to go a lap down, I fully expect it to be the 47 or 46. Poor Brennan Poole. Unless Poole can pull it out and really wheel that thing, I don't see Poole doing much here. Same thing with Matt Jaskell at a 4,800. So yet again, we're just removing people from the that 46 or that $4,000 range. Not a big fan of Poole. I think Deegan is probably going to, let's see real quick. She was involved in both wrecks last year, but the wrecks happened where she was running, around that little bit off the front of the pack, mid-range between, 10th to 20th. That's where the carnage usually happens. Concerning, but $6,500, I'm perfectly fine with that. Chase Purdy could run into an issue. I'm fine with Chase Purdy as well. Jack Wood. When we get to Purdy and Jack Wood, yet again, these are the plays that I don't mind hitting. Purdy, God bless the man, almost always finds a way to spin the car out. Let's just real quick. I want to see how many times he DNF'd last year, or how many times he had a poor finish, even if he was running at intermediate tracks. 23rd at first Las Vegas. 24th at Atlanta, 1. 25th at Kansas, 1. Excuse me. Wrecks at Darlington. Wrecks at Charlotte. 17th at Texas. Leave it to him to do well in a wreck fest. 15th at Nashville. 15th at Darlington, 2. 13th at Las Vegas. Well, that really shows a drastic change from the start of the year. So maybe I'm just remembering Purdy for just wrecking at intermediates when he's not necessarily doing that. I'm more inclined to play him over Jack Wood. Jack Wood is just a terrifying man to play. Let's see the amount of times Jack Wood crashed last year real quick. At intermediate tracks. 15th at Charlotte, 11th at Nashville, that's fine. Wrecks at Pocono, that's expected. Darlington gets involved in the wreck. Darlington 2. Las Vegas 2 gets involved in a wreck. Man, Jack Wood, Chase Purdy, don't really jump off the screen as fantastic plays. I think you got to keep them in the pool. And it does depend on where these guys qualify. If these two fellers qualify top 15, my interest in them greatly decreases. Kaz Gralla. Yet again, you want to talk about a guy who's going to race smart, race smart. See, I'm just rambling. A guy who is going to race smart, and most likely not destroy the car would be Kaz Gralla right here. Trying to look for his car because I know Matt Mills is jumping in the 20 car for Young Motorsports. Kaz Gralla is supposed to be in the 02 car. For Young Motorsports. Haven't seen a picture of it yet. doesn't concern me at all. Yet again, in a race where I think we're going to have a lot of guys that are going to be racing stupid, Matt Mills seems appealing. Kaz Grala seems appealing, and I would actually trust them more than people like good old Jordan Anderson. Did I pass Matt Mills on the... I did. Matt Mills is $5,100 as well. That was my bad. I skipped over Matt Mills, and so when we get back down, I think it's a head-to-head play between Matt Mills, Timmy Hill, and Spencer Boyd in terms of value. Kaz Grala, $7,000. He'll most likely qualify poorly in this 20 car. Going to be a place differential play. Going to be a play that you're banking on in terms of cautions and stuff. Colby Howard for I don't even know the team. It's the one that Derek Krause runs. He's in 91. Oh, it's Bill McAnally. I totally forgot. Yet again, like when we're looking at guys that, at least to me, pop up as an ugly play, it's Colby Howard. And specifically when you look at his race at Darlington, when he hopped in the 9 car last year for Cody Robal, drove the hell out of that 9 machine. Way faster than Cody ever did. Spun out, nearly DNF'd, and still raced, in the top 15, in the top 20 in that car. Colby Howard, this is a race, and God dang it, I wish this was a green race. If this race was green, I would have much more confidence in Colby Howard. Knowing that we're going to have a lot of yellows, Colby Howard seems like an individual to me that is going to be involved in the wrecks. That's just how it's going to be. But I think I want to play Howard when we're anticipating a green race, to be honest with you. I think that's when he can excel the most. He'll still be in the damn pool. Probably not going to play Anderson. Even in Wreckfest, the guy just hasn't finished well. And you already know what I think about Anderson. Brett Holmes, we're just going to have to see. First race last year, wrecked 31st, and then in the Wreckfest in the fall, finished 11th. Tell of two stories right there. They're down in the point stands right now with a 35th place finish at Daytona. Those are the things that I would look at to where they feel like they need to run well. Obviously, you always want to run well, but you definitely never want to start the season 35th in points. I don't like the 7K range a lot in this race. Looking at it right now in terms of where the drivers are, because I'm not going to go out of my way to play Brett Holmes. I'm not going to go out of my way to play the Onionator, the man himself, Todd Boudine. I just don't see it. Does Todd Boudine gain a lot of ownership? I think there's a possibility that he does, and that's absolutely stupid and terrifying. Derek Krause, head-to-head, I'd rather play Colby Howard. Tanner Hill, yet again, Krause, Gray, guys that I think are going to be racing up in the top 15 in this race. Guys are going to be racing alongside Haley Deegan, so that puts them in a situation where if there is a wreck, they're going to be the ones involved. Tyler Ankrum, $8,000. And he's with Hattori, correct? Yes, he is in the 16 car. Man, Austin Hill. Let me look at Austin Hill's lap by lap data real quick. Hold on. Okay, see, I wanted to go back and look. In the first race last year, Austin Hill had a stupid fast car. Obviously, he started in the back, but he was driving through the field, had probably the third best car. In the fall race, however, Austin Hill did not run very well at all. He did not have the speed. And Brandon, he led laps. He got up to first place. He didn't have a long run speed, and I know I've talked about, like, we want short run speed for this race, but like when you're losing as many positions Hill was on, like 15 lap runs, 10 lap runs, that's we're not seeing what I want to see here, drivers. For example, lap 9 coming out of that caution that Hackard had. Whatever. The first yellow on lap 6 in the fall race. Austin Hill restarts 6th on lap 9, falls back to 9th position lap 20, finishes the first stage in 9th. So he fell back 3 positions. Well, Brandon, that's good. Well, look, I'm trying to certainly when we compare his run in the spring to this one, this is a certainly not good. Basically runs 10th in and out of some yellows. He gains quite a few positions on lap 62 under yellow. I assume that he either didn't pit, probably stayed out for stage win or something here, because he's the man's running 9th, 10th, 7th entering this caution, comes out second on lap 67, ends up winning the stage, leads under yellow, leads into a restart wreck on lap 82. And then once, all the good drivers, and you got to remember, all the good drivers were taken out in this race. You had the Nemechek incident, you had Creed, you had the big wreck in 2, and so a lot of good cars that weren't in this race was removed. And so if anything, you'd want to see Austin Hill run better in this race. But he restarts 3rd on lap 85, drops back to 4th on lap 100, drops back to 6th on 104, drops to 7th on 110. We go in and out of cautions. And I assume some people pit on lap 119. He goes from 7th to 4th. Actually, he maintains his position. 114, he's in 7th, comes out of a yellow on lap 119. He's in 7th. I assume he got a good run on whatever lane he was at, because he goes from 7th to 4th on lap 119 of the fall race. We end up having a yellow on lap 127. I assume that he has a bad restart, because under yellow he crossed the line 130 at 3rd, takes the green in 7th, and finishes 10th. Anyway, the point is, while he ran 65% of his laps in the top, or 63% of his laps in the top 5, I think that's inflated by the amount of yellows that he had, because he did not have the fastest car, despite the fact that he led 12 laps in this race. And the reason I'm looking at this is because I wanted to see what the crew is bringing Ankrum in this race here. For $8,000, Ankrum will most likely qualify in the top 15. Does Ankrum have the skill or car to get to 5th on his own? I don't think so. I'm hesitant to play Ankrum. I'm hesitant to play Friesen. I would honestly rather play Hocevar over these two guys. Not really interested in Crafton. I am really interested in Enfinger. I think Enfinger is severely mispriced at $8,700. I think he's going to run incredibly well in this race. And really, when I first looked at the salaries last night, the guys that popped out to me was Kyle Busch is too cheap, Timmy Hill is too cheap, and Enfinger is too cheap. And I could easily pair a ton of Enfinger and Busch together. That's really kind of what I'm looking at here. Matt Benedetto, $8,900. That car does not have the speed, man. When you look at how he was ran at Daytona, why are you looking at Daytona? We're at Las Vegas here. Yes, but even under full power, sure, Matt Benedetto was riding, but man, this car is severely slower than the field. The only reason Benedetto got a top 10 in that race was because half the field wrecked. We didn't even hear, we didn't see tons of talk from not even the industry, but even from inside to Benedetto's own camp of wanting to run well in that race. And they finishing 10th is running well, but in terms of speed in that car, I don't see it, man. We did see Josh Berry hop in this car. We saw Timothy Peters in this car last year, and I think Berry's a better driver than Benedetto, and so I would project Benedetto to finish 18th, 17th in this race. I don't think that's criminally insane. $8,900 for that, just not going to be for me. Ty Majeski back in the car, hoping. This poor guy has had so much bad luck. Things that just aren't his fault, man. Aren't his fault. I'd rather play. When we look at Priest and Ty Majeski head to head, Sure, Priest hopped in last year and won a race, but they were clearly cheating. They only won that race because they were cheating. The other two cars failed pre-race inspection. Priest gets through, stupid fast, carry speed that we hadn't seen out of that car all year. Are they going to cheat Ryan Priest here? I don't think so. Is Ty Majeski going to get out and lead a ton of laps? I don't think so. Is Priest going to get out and lead a ton of laps? I don't think so. Going to be a hard sell for me to right now, unless I see incredible upside from Priest or Majeski to play those two men. Christian Eckus, yet again, like this is the situation where we go into. If we project Kyle Busch to lead as much, man, I keep scratching my head. I'm sorry if you can hear that. If we project to have Kyle Busch lead the first two stages, most likely come out, start first, lead the first two stages, might, let John Hunter Nemechek win a stage, because I do envision Kyle Busch and John Hunter Nemechek just fighting for the lead in this race. That hurts the upside, and I mean clearly hurts the upside of Majeski, Priest, Eckus, Smith, Zane Smith, and Ben Rhodes. You're playing Zane Smith, you're playing Ben Rhodes, you're playing John Hunter Nemechek, hoping that Kyle Busch runs into a mechanical issue, hoping that he does not lead these laps. Because of that, I always play a ton of Kyle Busch. That's just how it is. My interest in pretty much everybody up from Matt DiBenedetto to John Hunter Nemechek is just very small for me. And so right now, entering, if you want the picks, the pre-picks entry, and I try not to bore a ton of people going into crew chief stuff right now. I would advise you to listen to Pierce's stuff. He's been killing it with his crew chief analysis and his crew chief breakdowns. That saves me a ton of time, man. I know some people are like, why are you guys wasting time looking at crew chiefs? I literally just wasted time looking at Austin Hill's lap by lap data for the exact same reason, to see if I could find anything that I think is going to work for Ankrum in this race, because I think Ankrum, you could argue he's a bit too cheap in the Hattori car at $8,000. But those are things you need to do, and with him doing that, makes it easier for me to just kind of talk about drivers when I enter, a slate, and I don't have to, go over the crew chiefs or the teams or the sponsors. I could just tell you right here and there, like, and clearly outside of qualifying, and who looks interesting, who doesn't. But right now, I like Kyle Busch, I like Enfinger, I like Hocevar, I like Howard, I like Gralla. I don't mind Wood, I don't mind Purdy, I don't mind Deegan, I don't mind Austin Wayne Self. I'm really interested in Matt Mills, Timmy Hill, and Spencer Boyd. That's where we're at right now, entering the little preview here. Live show will be Friday evening. Well, obviously, we got live shows every day this weekend. It is the 3rd of March. I probably should have said this in the beginning, but it is the 3rd of March. If you want to join the Patreon, support me, support Pierce, support the work, support all this that we do, you can join there for $40 and actually have a full month of races and sheets and everything. But outside of that, yeah, just thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I'll probably record the Xfinity and Cup Series stuff later today after I go on a walk. But yeah, thank you for watching. This is the Truck Las Vegas kind of quick preview video. So thank you for being here and watching.